Hello, fellow creatives! This UFO House tutorial will turn heads on any server where you can build with cliff platforms. This distinctive pie slice design is open concept and allows lots of room for interior customization. So stay tuned because I'm going to show you step by step how to build this exterior. Now, this channel is filled with building tutorials and building showcases designed to inspire you creatively. So if that sounds awesome to you, please consider hitting the bell icon below the video to subscribe. First, let's take a look at the materials list. This is for the all metal version, which for many of you is probably pretty expensive. So feel free to substitute any of the metal materials in this list for other materials after you watch the tutorial. This design will look good regardless of what materials it's built in, although you may want to leave some of the glass as is. So we're going to start out with an empty metal cliff platform just like this. I do recommend the metal cliff platforms because it is actually easier to place the foundations down in a way to where the edges of them will line up than you can do on like the stone cliff platforms. So definitely do a metal one if you can. And this is the orientation right here where you need to lay them out. So if I do this and I'll freeze frame here, and here you can see that this pie section here is just a little over half of the pie in the highlighted section there. That is how much empty room you're going to need. So that be sure to place the platform on a cliff that comes out in a point kind of like this. And that will make sure that you're able to build this house that we're going to build on. Once you've got the platform placed where it should be, let's go ahead, let's take a metal cliff platform and let's line it up just like this to where the edge of the metal platforms go ahead and line up to those lines right there that they're lining up with, and then just center it right in the middle of this central metal rod that's kind of sticking out perpendicular, and then go ahead and place it. And do this for each of the pie slices. Now, once you have a second metal foundation placed, let's go ahead and build out like so that we can see if they come to a point or not. You want them to come to a point and overlap just slightly. If they don't, then when you're putting walls down, and don't put metal walls down, we're going to actually do something else, but there will be a gap right here, and you don't want that. If there is a gap, you're going to have to replace these foundations here, okay? But if there is no gap and this overlaps just a little bit, you're perfect. You can move on to the next foundation in the line like so, and then place this foundation and then bring this out here and then just check to see if there's an overlap and just continue around the whole ring in this manner. However, do keep in mind that if you want to go down to a lower platform, then you're going to want to use this time to place some hatch objects where you want to put some rope ladders, okay? Or just regular ladders, whatever kind of ladder you want. I'm going to put mine on the end, but you can put yours wherever you would like. So now that we have a nice ring around the edge of this here, we're going to want to place greenhouse sloped roofs on the edge, underside, but you're going to want to start on the left-hand side. So if this is north, you're going to start at about 8 o'clock or so, and then you're going to go this way clockwise around the edge, and that way we get this nice little overlap here. If you go the other direction, the overlap won't work. It'll tell you that the object is obstructed. So let's continue this and go all the way around with these sloped greenhouse roofs. So these roofs will form the underside of our UFO structure, and now we need to go ahead and add in the floor. So here's the shape of what the foundations need to go in right here. To get this shape, we're going to take the 3 central foundations and bring them in 2 each toward the center so that they are just overlapping like so. And then the next one's out on either side. You're going to bring in 1. And then on the far edges, you're going to bring in 2. And then you're going to go in a little L shape so that it goes just like this on both sides. Once you have that, you can start on either side, but this is not going to line up exactly. So you're going to want to start on the side where the bottom part of the stairway that we're going to build is going to start. Okay, so I want the stairway to be on the right side when I'm facing to kind of the north side of this build. So I'm going to start on the right side, and I'm going to go 3 across like so. So there's a little tiny gap on the left side right here, and that will get covered up, which we're going to do right now. And the way we're going to cover it up is with ceilings. We're going to put ceilings down like so. I'm just going to bring them in. And so for each of these pie-shaped gaps, you're going to want to shape similar to this. Let's do that. Just bring 2 in and then overlap 1. And do it the same angle on each of these so it doesn't look too janky. That way you get a nice symmetrical shape. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and kind of work on covering the rest of this up. And you just do that kind of spot patching it in like so. You can do it like that. So that's going to come in at sort of an L shape. And then what we can do is we can put a ceiling right off of this foundation just to cover up this tiny little gap here. And these ceilings will overlap, so you can just do that. And if you're using vanilla objects, there shouldn't be too much Z fighting. So for this part with a little tiny gap, here's how we're going to fix this. We're not going to attach one right here. We're actually going to attach it right off the edge of this foundation here. And then we're going to bring this in 1 right there. And that will cover it up very nicely with the smallest amount of Z fighting possible. So when you're done, it should look like this. It should be in something like this shape right here. Now we need to build our stairway. So let's go ahead and put some walls in. So we're going to put 2 walls like so right here. Actually 3 walls across. We're going to build them up 2 each on this side. And then on this side, we're going to stand right here. And we're going to attach a wall right here. And we're going to do 2 in. And then 1 wall right there. And then we're going to build up like so. Next, take a metal sloped roof. Put 1 right there. Put 1 right there. And then you should also be able to put a nice little fence metal railing right there. Now you can climb up to the top, place 1 of these here, and then come over here. And here's how we're going to clean up this little gap right here. Okay, so if we put, oops, not right there, but if we put a wall here and a wall here, notice we have a gap. Well, easily fixed. Attach a metal ceiling to the corner right where my cursor is, and then place that right there, and then put a pillar here, here, and here. And this will cover up that gap just perfectly, like so. So this is our staircase structure. Let's work on the exterior a little bit, okay? So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to go ahead and just put walls all the way around like so. Now these are greenhouse walls. You can do any kind of wall you want. For me, greenhouse looks the best. Now, if you're going to have zip line points, you're going to want to leave a gap where you want the zip line to show up. And go ahead, put a greenhouse door frame right here, put a metal ceiling right here, and then you could put metal fences like so right here. And then the anchor point's not built yet, so we'll add that later. So we've got a ring of greenhouse walls. Now how do you add the roof? Well, first we need to go ahead and add metal ceilings on this side. And when you're adding them to the ceilings, just make sure there's no gap like this. There we go. Gap achieved. And then on the edges here next to the greenhouse walls, go ahead and put a sloped metal wall right or left, depending on which one which side you're on, and then continue across like so until you hit the stairway. And do the same for the other side, of course. So now that we've got these walls in, we can build the roofs, right? Well, not quite so fast. Okay, so we can do this like that, right? But if we come out 2 more, we can't, we have a little floating issue, right? And then there's no anchor point for these sides. They don't work, right? So now we need to build extra support. So here's how we're going to do this, okay? We need to build decorative walls on the inside. And there's 2 ways to do this. And if you do it the wrong way, you have to start completely over from this spot in the tutorial. Okay, so please don't do this the wrong way. It's very important that you do it and you listen carefully here. Okay, on the edges, there are 2 anchor points. There's this one that points to the right when you're facing to flat, when you're perpendicular to each pie slice. And then there's one that faces to the left. You want to do the one that faces to the left at each intersection point. Oops, like so. Okay, if you do it to the right, you will have kind of some obstruction issues, kind of like building an overlapping roof in the wrong direction. I don't know if you know about the roof overlapping trick, but it's the same principle at work here. So please build them to the left and not to the right. Now, once we got these built, you're going to go ahead and put a sloped greenhouse wall left on top of each of these. So now we can go ahead and put the roofs in, right? Not quite. Okay, so what we need to do is actually add an additional layer of support before we can do this, just in case you need to destroy one of these for some reason or another. It's possible. It's happened to me. So here's how we're going to do this. Right smack in the middle of every single pie slice, you're going to want to put a metal pillar and stack that right on top and put that right on top like so. And do this for every pie slice. Now for the inner metal pillars, you're going to want to go ahead and put a metal ceiling right on top, then bring a ceiling out on either side so it looks like a T shape, okay? And do this for all the ones on the inner side and that are not touching these metal walls. Now we're going to kind of do the same thing for the ones close to the walls, okay? Except, however, there's 2 snap points. See these? One's the upper, one's the lower. Go for the lower one. That way, these walls will be flush. As you can see right now, they're flush. And just make sure that that's the case so that these will not have any issues when we build the second floor, because you don't want them kind of sticking up, okay? So now, once we have these done, this nice little ring around here, now we can finally add the top roofs. So you're going to start on the far right side when you're facing to your north, okay? And then start on the left side of each pie section and then work to the right. And once you get done with that section, move left one section, start on the left side, move to the right. And just repeat that process until you get this all covered up. Now, once you have all of these placed, let's go ahead and let's take a look at what it should look like when we're all done. Now, you can use a flyer for this if you want, but it should look like this. And we'd be tempted to call it here and just kind of cap it off and put a ceiling on it, right? Well, we're going to actually build a second story. But before we do that, I want to share some exciting news, okay? So let's go over here really quick and I'll just land. My artist has sent me all the art I need for my Patreon page, which means it's time to actually launch a Patreon, and I'm so excited for this. So if you've been looking for a way to support me beyond watching and liking my videos, then this is perfect for you, okay? So just click the link up top on the right if you're interested to have a look at the Patreon. There's all sorts of goodies you're going to get in return for your financial support, and I'm planning a big live stream launch at the end of March, where we're going to get on my servers and play around and stuff like that. And that'll include all the patrons who sign up between now and then, plus all the people who are already in my Discord. So that's pretty cool. But, you know, if you don't want to or can't, don't worry. Don't feel pressured. Just having you subscribed and watching my videos is really all I'll ever ask of you. And just knowing that you're supporting me in that way is awesome too. I mean, really, I appreciate it either way. You guys are all awesome. Thank you for subscribing and watching and supporting me. This is just really cool. And I can't wait to kind of start this next phase of my YouTube career. Let's head up the ramp here, up to the second floor, and let's place a ceiling right here next to this. However, before you do that, there's 2 snap points. There's an upper one and a lower one. Let's go ahead and attach it to the lower snap point. That way it's flush with the ceilings we just built over here. And you want to do that for all the ones we're going to build. If it's too high, it's going to look like this, and it's going to be flush with those. And we kind of want to minimize the amount that are flush with those, right? So it's just an aesthetic thing. If you like it the other way, you can do it there too. But for me, we're going to do it this way. And then we're going to build this ceiling out to the staircase in concentric rings. So for the first ring, let's go ahead and place these, and you're going to want to overlap, like so. That way you get these little gaps filled in right here, and that way it also gives you like a ton of snap points for when you want to place walls up here, right? So that way, if you want to customize your floor layout, you can totally do so, and it'll be fairly easy as long as you can cycle through the snap points and align your walls correctly. So the first ring's done. Let's go ahead and add the second. So I'm going back over here, and we're going to just basically fill in the gaps like so. This, we need to go ahead and head around like this. This is going to leave some gaps here, which is just fine. And then here you can skip a few snap points if you want. It's honestly not that big of a deal if you do. So that way we can come around to this side and fill those in. Okay, there we go. And so now we have a nice kind of round sort of ceiling that kind of comes up through here, which is looks good. But we also have this little thing that kind of, you know, there's a gap there. So here's what we're going to do here. We're just going to put a ceiling right there, and then put one right next to it right there. Okay, so that solves that. And now we can add fence railings. So let's add one right here, add one right to where this is. It will take a little bit to line it up. And then you don't want to add one right there. Rather, you want to add one right there. That way, they're the same height. Okay? And that should look pretty good for your stair banister. So we got some decent railings right here. We've got a decent second floor. Now it's time to actually add a second floor to our second floor. So let's do it this way, okay? Instead of trying to build on each of these pie slices like we did on the first floor, we're going to skip pie slices. So find your middle pie slice, the central one, the one where you're facing your relative north here, and skip it. Go to the left or the right on either side. And then here's what we're going to do. One ceiling within. We're going to build a door frame right here, smack in the middle of the pie slice. And then on either side, you'll want to put a greenhouse glass wall. So do the same over here. And then once you're done with that, come over here and then build a single door frame on the very edge, and then a greenhouse glass wall on the open side right here. And do that for the far side as well. So here's how your second floor wall placement is supposed to look. Now that you've got this placed, let's go ahead and add the back walls in. So come over here. Let's place a single wall right here, and then put two walls up on this side. And you're going to follow the walls right around the edge here, like so. Two up, and then when you get to this spot, we need to add a pillar before we add more walls right next to them. Otherwise, we'll have to destroy the walls to add the pillar. So add the walls here. And then let's go over here. And two up here. And one right here. And then on this side, you're going to do a sloped metal wall left. And then on this side, you're going to place a sloped metal wall right. And with the back walls in, let's go ahead and add some extra support for our roof objects that we're going to eventually add. So here's how we're going to do this, okay? At these, the middle doors, like where they are full length, we're only going to add two pillars. We're going to go two ceilings back, and then right smack in the middle of the second ceiling, add a pillar. Add one up there. Same thing for this one. And there are a lot of snap points, so you'll have to use your cycle key to find the correct one. Make sure it lines up. Looks like it does. Add the second pillar. And then let's come downstairs and let's make sure this is complete. Because if we kind of mess this up, well, we don't want them floating, basically, is what the deal is. Once these pillars are done, you'll have a nice solid pillar that goes up through both floors. Looks pretty good. And then we're going to do the familiar T-shape that we did on the ones on the first floor. So just do that and do this right here. And hey, looky, it comes together in a point. I didn't plan that. It just sort of worked out that way. It's pretty cool. So let me break in here for a second. So this metal ceiling, we're going to connect it to that wall over there with two more metal ceilings. And when you do this, you're going to want to check your snap points here. And make sure that if there are more than one, you want to select the lower one. And you may not have 2 snap points, in which case you probably built it better than I did. But just in case you do, I want you to know that you want to select the lower one, because that way the roof will look the best once we have it complete. Okay? Just so you know, right ahead. And then, of course, check snap points on the other side as well. And the same thing on this side. Put one right here and one right here so that they intersect in a roughly a point type shape. Now it's time to add the sloped walls to support these roofs, especially for the middle part. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to do something a little special. We're going to put a wall right here, and you can put greenhouse wall if you like, and some modded like plants in here, and you can make a little terrarium if you like. I'm not going to do that. It's just an aesthetic choice for me. So I'm making this solid, and this little spot is just going to go unused, which is, totally fine. Not a big deal. Put a ceiling right here. And then on the edge, you're going to put a metal wall right here, a metal wall right here. And then another aesthetic choice. I'm using greenhouse wall lefts. You can use the material of your choice, but as long as they're sloped walls, feel free. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this structure on this hole right here and this hole right here. And then once we have these structures, we can now put in the roofs. So I'm going to start over here and work my way clockwise, just because that's just kind of the way I'm used to doing it. I think you can do this in any order and you shouldn't have any troubles. So go ahead and add your roof objects now. Okay, that looks okay, but now we have doorways to balconies that are just completely open. So let's go ahead and add some nice looking railings just to kind of cap things off. If you don't want people to see back here to this empty spot, you can of course put a wall here. It's not really going to be that big of a deal. And then over here on this side, you're going to want to do basically a 1x3 kind of shape here, as far as the way these railings are going to be placed, like so. And then just duplicate that over to those other empty areas. And this is what it'll look like. And of course, over here, this is what this one looks like. And the only thing we really have to do now is to rebuild or build this. I've done a couple takes of this already, if you can't tell. So here's what we're going to do is we're going to check the snap points here. This is where checking the snap points and making sure you have the lower snap point on this ceiling comes in handy, because now we can add a ceiling right here to the lower snap point. You don't want the upper one, because here's what happens if you do the upper one. You get this kind of weird sort of middle squares thing poking through the ceiling here. We want the lower one so that it does this. It looks pretty nice this way, and the glass comes in underneath, but that's not as noticeable when you're inside. So that's the way I want you to do it. And then of course, just bring in these objects like so, and sort of a T-shaped sort of Tetris block look. And then you're going to have this little gap right here. If you want to take care of it, go ahead and place a greenhouse ceiling right there. And hey, it doesn't look any weirder from the outside. So this is how the second floor looks now. And it looks pretty good. Nice and open, very airy if you want to keep with the open concept floor plan. And then over here, let's come out this way. This is how the exterior is going to look once you have followed all these instructions. And it looks pretty good, I think. What do you guys think? I think it looks great, to be honest. And of course, let me just mention right here, this zip line deck right here that we've added, you can now add a zip line to this spot. You can anchor a zip line right here and then bring it down to this if you would like, or whatever lower platform you have, anything within range, really. And down here, we have the nice open concept floor plan as well. And then you can start segmenting this. I'm going to let this be your own sort of creative journey here. This is your little bit of homework, is to add walls and rooms how you want it to be, not how I want it to be. Because that way, each design that you guys build off of this can be unique and fun, and you can just use this to kind of make it your own. It's really easy. I gave you a ton of snap points, so if you want, you can just wall off this whole thing here. Maybe add a pillar right there if you want. I guess there's a little bit of a gap, but you can just, just kind of wall off this whole sort of thing here and make your own doorway like so. Come through here, and, just do it however you want. That's really sort of what this is for. Now, people love creative people, and I want to help you to use your creativity well in ARK. So we do tutorials and building showcases designed to inspire you. So hit that bell icon next to the subscribe button to stick around and become a little more creative by clicking on one of the videos on your screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. And in the meantime, go make something awesome. Bye.